still am healing, so that it is, believe it or not, I think it's a comfort zone. Like, I know how to be a victim. Like, that's comfortable because it's familiar. And my growth aspiration is to get to a place where I don't need that anymore. And I think I'm getting close. I don't know if I'll ever completely get there, but I do think that I have gotten better at it. So I don't know if I even answered the original question, but but that's sort of the arc of my whole experience here, on this planet Earth.
So what made you decide, you know what, I want to pursue music as a career?
Well, I think that when I was in high school, I knew that I was going to pursue a career as an entertainer of sorts. At that point, I was doing a lot of acting, and I was very uncertain about whether I should pursue acting or music. The music, honestly, the deciding factor for me was that I have a horrible memory. So with acting, theater particularly, memorizing lines was arduous. But for whatever reason, once a song gets locked in my brain, I have a much easier time memorizing songs. It doesn't feel like memorization. It feels like it just becomes part of, like, what they call muscle memory. So that was the deciding factor that I was going to major in music. I decided to major in music and then take a minor in business because I also did not want to become a teacher, because I thought I would be a horrible teacher because I was not a very patient person. And I think you have to be remarkably giving and patient to be a wonderful teacher. And I think teachers are some of the most important facilitators on our planet. So I didn't want to be a teacher because I didn't think I'd be very good at it. So I decided I needed to take a business minor so that I could become a musician who didn't starve. Like, that was my thinking. Like, it was always, I was never going to become a business person. I was just going to become a musician who didn't starve. Like, I wanted to understand the principles of business. So, which was kind of actually sort of a mature decision, I suppose. So it was, I always make the very flippant comment, like, oh, I didn't choose music, it chose me, blah, blah, blah. But it really did. I'm not exaggerating when I say that, for most of the day there's music going on in my head. People talk about, like, conditions like tinnitus or tinnitus, however you want to pronounce it, where you have this constant ringing in your ear. I have constant music in my head that, like, it's just taunting me, like, come on, let's go play. Let's go play. Come on, come play with us.
Let's call it musicalitis.
Yeah, it is musicalitis.
You invented a word.
But I have to, as an assimilated adult who has to earn money and, cook food and go grocery shopping and pay bills and, make the bed and all the other things that I do. I have to tame it so that I can still function, I play with it too, and I'll be vacuuming and I'm singing, I'm writing songs while I'm vacuuming. It's like cleaning the kitty litter. I'm singing to the cat while I'm cleaning the kitty litter. But for me, the career choice was not like, I don't know if I thought, like, okay, this is my career and this is how I'm going to do it. I just knew that it was what it just was what felt good to me. And when you're young, you believe that the things that feel good are going to be the way that you make your living. And it was for a very long time, and it still is to a smaller capacity. I still earn part of my living as a musician. I am now working really diligently to make all of my income from being a musician. And that's a lofty expectation at this point in my life, because there's a mortgage and there's homeowners insurance and all the things that when you're in your 20s, you can rent an apartment, you can share a house with your buddies, that's what we did. We lived for a very long time, my husband and I, before we were married, we lived communally with a bunch of musicians in a house, and we built a recording studio. We pooled our money and our equipment, and it cost very little to survive. And it was like the best years ever. Like I remember very fondly that even with sometimes financial struggles, that it was like the most fun time. Like, people often talk about childhood being the most free time of their life. I think that those years in a lot of ways were my most free years that I experienced. They felt really like I felt like I was getting away with something. Like, all my friends who graduated college who were working at advertising agencies and law firms, and I was like up at 2:00 in the morning on a Tuesday with a gigantic bowl of popcorn and my housemates watching Star Trek, singing the theme song. I just remember thinking, like, wow, we are the luckiest people in the whole world. I remember, cereal in the morning in the kitchen, and, one of our housemates, JT, would come in with his guitar and start playing a groove, and I'd start singing, and, a few hours later, there'd be a song written. I can't believe we get to live this way. It was amazing.
Must have been something in those Lucky Charms, I think.
Whatever it was, it just felt really normal. That was our normal. And look, it lasted a long time, and then there came a time when it didn't feel normal anymore. There came a time when it felt like, okay, I want privacy. I want to be able to experience intimacy with my husband, whether that was physical intimacy or, having an argument. I wanted to be able to do those things and not feel like somebody else in the home was going to hear us, So it was time. We outgrew it. And, there's a melancholy about that. Like, there's a part of me that feels like that was my end of innocence when it was time to move out of, 21 Walnut. That was the time where I think I crossed the threshold into true adulthood. And we did buy the house, and we did figure out how to do it, just me and my husband. Like, we're in a partnership, and we became the team, just the two of us. So, and at that point I had to shift my but I had to shift my income generating ideas, because in the beginning I was earning enough money as a musician to do it all. And I had this part-time job that brought in a nice little salary every week that I could rely on, that if there was a dry month with music, like, there was always this consistent income coming in. And I felt really good about it until the person I was working for called me and said, listen, blah, blah, so-and-so quit, and I don't want 2 part-timers. I want 1 full-timer. So either you take the full-time position or I'm going to need to replace you. And we had just moved into the house. And I felt a responsibility to my husband and to this home that we just moved into and created for ourselves. And I was afraid. I was afraid if I said no, what if, the gigs dried up? And I said yes. And I will be honest with you, I have been kicking myself ever since. I have not forgiven myself for being too afraid to continue being a full-time musician. I felt like it was my adult obligation, and I am still punishing myself for that decision. So rather than continuing to punish myself, which is a little ridiculous, I have now launched into creating my own entrepreneurial existence as a musician. And it's, I won't even say it's scary. It's exhilarating. I haven't been this excited about anything in a very long time, and I'm really excited about where it's going to take me. And I'm really confident that I'm going to be able, like I said before, to make the music be my full-time music income generator again.
Well, I hope so too.
Yeah, thank you. I keep that mantra, I am worthy. And I know, like there's the, the I'm going to use the air quotes, the real side of your psyche that goes, well, just because you're worried doesn't mean that it'll happen. It's like, this is a really difficult thing. And I'm like, shut up. Just use reasonable side of my brain, shut up. Because you know what? The enthusiastic side of my brain knows that this is entirely possible. So I'm going with her. You go over there, and if you need to, keep yourself occupied, find something else to worry about. But I'm going to nurture the positive little, spark of light over here, little Tinkerbell. Me and her are going to make this happen, and we're going to be excited about our life again. We're going to be excited for Mondays and feel like, yeah, it's Monday. I get to make music for people, and I get to share songs with people, and I get to share ideas and exchange concepts and things that we're thinking about with other people. This is going to be my livelihood. So that's the trajectory that I have my focus on and my intention on right now.
And I'll throw you my mantra. You're a good person and you deserve good things.
Thank you. Yes, I do. I am a good person. I'm not always good to myself, but I'm much nicer to other people.
We're always our worst critics, artists. We always are.
Yeah.
But we move forward.
Yeah.
Do a little back metal, but all right. So you get out of college, and you're with this group of people, sharing an apartment. How are you How are you getting house? How are you getting? Yeah. Are you getting gigs with them, or are you doing some stuff solo or combined at this point?
Both. Yeah, we had a recording studio called Sonic Underground, and a portion of our income came from clients. We recorded a lot of major label artists in this in-home studio. It was pretty cool. We recorded our own stuff. I had a band, and there were housemates that were part of that band, namely my husband, John DeMauro, played keyboards in my band. JT, or John Tobacco, who I mentioned before, sang background vocals, and I'm trying to remember if I think he played some acoustic guitar. At one point, there was a housemate, Jim Dexter, who played guitar. And so we all had our own solo projects, and also my husband and JT had a band called the Gearhead Freaks, which is to this day one of my favorite bands of all time. I still listen to their album, and it's one of my favorites. I always say, I would be just as happy touring as a background vocalist for the Gearhead Freaks as I would being Marci Geller. I enjoy not only their music that much, but being in their band that much. So there was a lot of crossover. I would do a lot of the funny thing is that as a musician, when they say jack of all trades, I'm truly like a Jill of all trades. I learned how to do anything. I would have any number of part-time jobs. From I was a bookkeeper for a small company and worked 2 days a week at one point. I sold vacuum cleaners at Sears. I pretty much did any legal part-time job you could possibly think of, from waitressing, bartending. I worked as a data input person. I learned how to do databases. I worked for the American Lung Association. I did IT and graphic design for them. Yeah, I learned how to do everything just so that I could get 1 or 2 days a week that paid really well. So I had that consistent income, and then the rest was just, making music as much as humanly possible, whether it was gigs or selling albums, which, at that point was CDs. I know now it's primarily streaming, but I still sell CDs because my demographic likes to get a CD when they pay for it. But yeah, we would do gigs, we would sell music, we would run recording sessions. My area of expertise was digital editing. The guys, JT and my husband, were the primary sound engineers in the studio at Sonic Underground. They both have impeccable ears and really, really talented. I am really, really good and nimble at learning the software, at digital editing. So if we had a client that came in that maybe they weren't like a perfect singer, like I could take the 15 vocal tracks and like cobble together a perfect vocal